New York bids its final farewell to General of the Army Douglas MacArthur. The long gray line of cadets from West Point stand under equally gray and somber skies as the casket is borne out of the Armoury where it had lain in state for 28 hours. The caisson moves slowly through the city that he called the greatest in the world when he came to make it his home 13 years ago. Times Square, usually a melee of people rushing to work at this morning hour, is lined with men and women and children standing or walking quietly as the cortege passes. The flag-draped coffin is headed for Pennsylvania Station to begin the journey that will take it to Washington and thence to Norfolk, Virginia for final interment in the MacArthur Memorial. A riderless horse symbolizes the Army's loss. The General's widow and his only son wait at the station as the coffin is removed from the caisson and taken inside, where a 7-car special funeral train awaits it. A few hours later, the train arrives at Washington's Union Station. President and Mrs. Johnson, who had come to meet the train, escort Mrs. MacArthur as preparations are made for the capital's second state mourning services within 5 months. The Capitol gives the great warrior the same honors that it did the late President Kennedy when his body was returned to it last November. The skies are as gray and dripping as they had been in New York. Mrs. MacArthur and her son are composed through the ordeals of many public appearances. The President and Mrs. Johnson follow up the great steps and into the rotunda. The coffin is placed on a bier beneath the soaring dome, just as that of President Kennedy and others of the nation's great. President Johnson places a wreath of honor at the foot of the bier. Then he stands in a moment of prayerful silence. After the state ceremonies are concluded, the Capitol is opened to the thousands of ordinary citizens who have been waiting patiently in the downpour to pay their respects to the man whom few could have known personally, but whom they revere as a national hero. Through the late afternoon hours they file by, 8,000 an hour. The rotunda is kept open all night to accommodate the mourners. So with the highest dignity it can offer the dead, America honors Douglas MacArthur.